Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things, books. So something that I've been trying to do recently is really come back to myself in this time of my life. I just turned 30 this year and I just feel like it's time to find myself again. I've been really lost in motherhood. I've been really lost in grief. And honestly, I'm not sure that I even know who I am. So one of the things that I'm doing to try and learn about myself again is to try and remember the things that I loved to do as a kid. And one thing that I absolutely loved was reading. I have really gotten back into that like with a bang. I've really gotten into like Book Talk and BookTube and everything, which is so fun and it's such a wholesome thing to come back to, and I'm just very excited to be thinking about and talking about and reading books again, because it's something that I just loved when I was a kid. In no particular order, I'm going to tell you some of the books that I've read and the ratings that I've given them and just a little bit about them. The first one that I want to talk about, I actually don't have the physical copy of anymore. There's actually a few that I don't have the physical copy of right now. The first one I read was called If You Were Here, I think, by Kathleen Glasgow. I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that this was probably for young adults. I thought there was going to be a lot more like depth about drug addiction and things like that, but it was really, I think it was a really good story for teenagers to kind of learn about drug addiction and what it might look like in the family and with your friends. But for me, having seen it firsthand for so many years, it just didn't really hit in the way that I wanted it to. So I don't think it's the book's fault because I didn't realize that it was a young adult book. So it's hard for me to give this a rating because I don't think I was the correct audience for this, but it's probably like a 2 out of 5 for me. The next book that I read that isn't one of my favorites, but it definitely like piqued my interest into reading a little bit more, was Little Bee. I also don't have the physical copy of this because we have one of those little free libraries down the street, and I put it in the free library to grab another book from the free library. Hi guys. My camera stopped recording, so here I am a couple hours later after trying to edit this video and realizing that all my footage is like broken up. So anyway, Little Bee is a literary fiction about a refugee who is seeking asylum in the UK, and she gets put into a detention center. And then once she gets out of the detention center, she needs to find her way to a couple that she knows lives in the UK. And the connection between the couple and her is very gruesome and grim and scary. And honestly, if you're going to read this book, I definitely suggest you look up the trigger warnings because it is very intense, war-related. So yes. But that being said, I give this book a 3.5, I guess I would say. Or maybe I would give it a 3.25. It was good and it was definitely gripping. And I definitely wanted to know what was going to happen, but it was slow for a little while and it was like very gruesome and gory. So if you're not into that, this probably isn't the book for you. Moving right along, the next book that I read is The Secret Life of Violet Grant. This is a historical fiction set in the 60s and the 20s. It's a dual POV, and it's about a niece who receives a package in the mail that is actually her aunt's old suitcase from the 20s. And she didn't even know that this aunt even existed, and she has to go through her family ties to try and figure out what is this mysterious suitcase, who is this aunt that nobody's told her about, and she's just learning her aunt's story, and it's good. I really like this book. I really liked the plot twist at the end. It really got me. I do think this is almost 500 pages long, and I think it could have been condensed down 100 or 200 pages less, honestly. It was pretty slow at some points, but I still think I would give this a 4 stars because the plot twist at the end is great. The story is really engaging. The romance is nice in it. There's romance on both ends. And yeah. I also read all 3 of the Hunger Games series. These are so good. I have watched the first 2 movies of these before I read the books, so I kind of knew what was going to happen, but like I was still gripped by these. I don't understand how you can know what the story is and all of the twists and turns and still be gripped. That's how you know this is a good book. Like I already knew what was going to happen, but I still was so engaged into it. So first Hunger Games, 5 stars. Second Hunger Games, 5 stars. And the third one, I think I would give this a 4 star just because it was a little bit slower than the other 2. And I don't think I have to really describe what Hunger Games is because I'm pretty sure everyone watching this will probably already know what Hunger Games is. Another book that I don't have the physical copy of because a friend loaned it to me is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. This is the first thriller that I've ever read, and honestly, I was very much not impressed, unfortunately. It's basically about this woman who gets invited to this long lost friend's bridal shower, or not bridal shower, but bachelorette party. And it's like a weekend out in this house in the woods. It's just not, it's very, very slow in my opinion, and at no point was I ever like, oh, my heart is racing. I just feel like when you're reading a thriller, it should be like, oh, like, I don't know. I feel like you should have a visceral reaction, you know what I mean? Or at least like be shocked at some points or something, and I just wasn't getting that from this. I would give this a 2 star, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend this book unless somebody wanted like a thriller that was not very thrilling, which I don't think people want. So sorry. The next book I want to talk about is none other than Fourth Wing. I really like this book. I think we all know what this is about too, but it's about Violet Sorrengail. She is in a fantasy college where there's different quadrants, and you have to pick whatever quadrant you're going to be in for, you know, your career basically. And she really wants to go into the scribe quadrant, but her mother wants her to go into the writer's quadrant because that is where the rest of her family has gone pretty much, and her mom wants to keep the legacy in the family, I guess. It's the trope of like, oh, this tiny helpless girl needs to prove herself in this like really hard and challenging and life-threatening situation, and she does. And honestly, I like that trope. I don't even care. Actually, Iron Flame, the second book in this series, came out yesterday, so I'm excited to get my hands on that. Probably gonna have to wait a little while because I did not pre-order it, so it's already sold out everywhere, I'm sure, because it's very popular. This book, I think I originally gave this a 5 stars, but I think I'm going to give this a 4.75 because it is pretty slow, because there is world building And it's a little bit repetitive also, but I think that's okay because I'm pretty sure this series is supposed to be pretty long. So I'm sure the first book was just kind of like setting up for the rest of the series. The next book I read was The Ex-Hex. This is pretty cute, a little rom-com book. This is about Vivian Jones. She's a witch. She lives in this small town with her aunt and her cousin. She has this summer fling with this guy and it ends up not working out, and basically she's pissed. And she pretends to hex her ex, and it actually becomes a real hex. So when the guy comes back to the town years later, he is actually hexed, and it's actually not just him, but it's the town that's hexed, and all of them have to figure out how to try and get this hex broken. It's really cute. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be into like rom-com-ish type books. I love rom-coms as movies. This as a movie, I would eat this up as a movie. But reading it, I was just not really pulled in. I feel like I need some like action and some like depth to be able to really be pulled into a physical book. All of that said, this is still really cute, really good palate cleanser, and really just like no-brainer type of book. And I think I would give this a 3.5. The next book I also don't have a copy of because I'm trying to get my mom to read it, but that is none other than ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is so good, obviously. A bunch of people love this. It's about Feyre, a human who basically is taken into the fairylands. I don't want to put too many spoilers, so I'll just say that. And there's lots of different creatures. There's lots of different like action, romance. It's good. It's really good. I read this book and I was like instantly gripped. This first book is a little bit slower, so there's a lot of world building in the beginning, but you know, when there's a series, like especially a fantasy series, there's going to be a lot of world building in the first book or the first couple books. So I wasn't upset about that. I initially think I gave this a 4 stars, but I am going to bump it up to a 4.5 stars because I really do love it so much. And the next book that I read was obviously A Court of Mist and Fury. I know that this is a lot of people's favorite out of the series, and I'm not saying I disagree yet, honestly, because this was so good. 5 stars, 100%. Some of the same characters, but a lot of new characters are in this one. Again, I don't want to give spoilers or anything, so we'll just leave it at that. This is where the story really gets good. I also listened to Jennette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died, and that was amazing also. If you don't know, Jennette McCurdy was a child star on iCarly, and it is a memoir of how she got into acting and the part that her mom played in all of her acting, but also her life and the impact that it had on her, you know, the negative impact that it had on her, obviously, from the book title. And it's just amazing. I don't think that we can rate people's life experiences, but if I'm rating this book on like the execution, it's 5 stars. It's so good. And that is all of the books that I've read recently and wanted to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.